All right, so this week you guys have sent in some seriously interesting stuff. A lot of it kind of revolving around a central theme, and that is how to be disciplined.
Right.
And that is exactly what we are going to deep dive on today.
I love it.
So we are going to pull out all the best stuff from your notes, the most valuable insights, and really get to the heart of what discipline is really all about.
Yeah.
So that you can understand it and start to bring it more and more into your own life.
You know, it is really fascinating how discipline has this reputation of, you know, being very restrictive and kind of like a drag, you know?
Right.
But all the material you sent in actually points to discipline being something very different and really empowering. You know, like this hidden key to unlocking so much of what we want.
Yeah, it almost feels like it flips the script on discipline because it becomes less about saying no and more about saying yes.
Yes.
To those things that really matter to you by having the focus and the consistency to actually achieve them. There was one line that really stood out to me, and it was, discipline is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. I thought that was such a good way to visualize it.
It is a good way to visualize it because it makes you think, where do you want to be?
Right.
What are you striving for right now? Because that's the real starting point.
Right.
You know, this isn't just some theoretical thing.
Yeah.
This is a deep dive into discipline, and it's meant to be practical to help you get closer to what you care about.
Exactly. So I think that's a good point. Think about that goal that you are chasing right now. Maybe it's some sort of career milestone, a fitness challenge, a creative project. What's the first step in actually building that bridge?
Right.
Well, according to all this material you guys sent us, it all starts with the way you think. So let's unpack this foundational mindset.
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was that discipline isn't just about your actions.
Yeah.
It's about your underlying beliefs about yourself and your potential. The material is very clear that when your mindset supports your goals, disciplined action becomes much more natural.
Right.
It's almost like the bedrock for consistent effort.
And a lot of the stuff we got sent in points to a growth mindset.
Yes.
So for anybody listening who might not be familiar with this idea, it's basically the understanding that your abilities are not set in stone, that you can develop them through dedication and learning.
Right.
I think that's such a powerful shift in perspective because so many times, you know, we hit a roadblock and we're like, I'm just not good at this.
Right.
But with a growth mindset, it becomes, I'm not good at this yet.
That word yet changes everything.
Yeah.
It reframes challenges from these huge barriers to temporary stages in your development.
Yeah.
And this is so important for discipline because any kind of big, worthwhile goal will inevitably have obstacles.
Totally.
A growth mindset lets you see those obstacles not as a reason to stop,
Right.
but as opportunities to get better. And what's really fascinating is that this belief that you can grow fuels the persistence that you need for discipline.
So another thing that really stood out to me going through all these notes was that waiting around for motivation is not a winning strategy.
Right.
I think we all have those moments of inspiration, you know? We're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to crush it.
Yeah.
But it's very fleeting.
Yeah, it is. It's totally fleeting.
So what is the more dependable approach?
Well, what the material points to is building consistent habits instead. And this is really the core of discipline because motivation is just an emotion.
Right.
It's like any other emotion. It's unpredictable.
It comes and it goes.
Exactly. And habits are different.
Yeah.
Habits are ingrained patterns of behavior. They become almost automatic. They require less and less effort over time.
Right.
Think about that 6 a.m. workout mentioned in the notes.
Yeah.
It might start out as a battle with the snooze button.
Yeah.
Driven by pure willpower. But once it becomes a habit, it's just what you do.
It's like brushing your teeth.
It's like tying your shoes.
Yeah.
You don't have this big internal debate about it.
No.
It just happens.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do with discipline. We're trying to automate those actions that move us towards our goals.
Automate all the things that help us reach our goals.
Exactly. And then, of course, life happens.
Oh, yeah.
We have setbacks. We have bad days. You know, we fall short.
Yeah.
This is where resilience is so important.
Right.
This material makes it clear that discipline is not about being perfect.
Yeah.
It's about how you respond when things don't go to plan.
Absolutely. It's about picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and getting back on track.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not about never making mistakes. It's about recovering quickly.
Yeah.
Discipline is about pushing through the setbacks and getting back on track.
Okay, so we're cultivating that growth mindset.
Right.
We're focusing on habits.
Yep.
And we're building up our resilience. What's next?
Well, the next piece of the puzzle is all about setting clear goals and understanding your priorities.
Okay, and this is where that question that you posed earlier comes in.
Exactly.
Where do you actually want to be? Because this material underscores how important it is to have clear, well-defined goals.
Right.
Because they are what gives you direction.
Yes, they're like a compass.
Yeah, they give you that fuel for your discipline.
That's it.
Because without them, it's very easy to wander off track.
Absolutely.
And there was one tool that came up a lot in the material.
Oh, yeah.
That is the SMART framework. So for anybody listening who might not know, that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
It's like the ultimate litmus test.
Yeah, for making sure that your goals are actually good and effective.
Right, and it's so practical.
Yeah.
I mean, the example that the notes had, exercise for 30 minutes, 5 days a week for the next 3 months.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so much better than just, I want to be healthier.
Right.
You know, it's specific, it gives you actual parameters.
Totally. It forces you to think it through.
Right.
And one thing I really loved about the achievable part is that it recommends breaking down these huge goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yes, this is so important for keeping momentum.
Yeah.
Because like writing an entire novel, for instance.
Oh my gosh.
That can feel completely overwhelming.
Yeah.
But breaking it down into writing a few hundred words a day, or even just one scene at a time, that makes it seem possible.
Yeah.
And each small accomplishment gives you a little bit of motivation and reinforces that discipline to keep going.
Absolutely. So once you have those clear bite-sized goals,
Yeah.
then the material stresses how important it is to prioritize. Because not all tasks are created equal.
Right.
And, you know, discipline is really about making sure your energy is being used on the things that are going to move the needle.
Yes. It's about choosing to focus on the tasks that are going to have the biggest impact on those long-term goals.
Right.
It's so easy to get swept up in things that feel urgent but aren't truly important.
Right. And discipline helps us identify those things.
Exactly.
So to sum it up,
Yeah.
you define your SMART goals, you break them down, and you prioritize based on your overall vision.
That's it.
And one thing that the material stresses is that discipline here isn't about being rigid.
Right.
It's about consistently taking action, but with enough flexibility to adapt as things change.
Exactly. It's a balance between structure and adaptability.
Right.
You need the roadmap provided by clear goals.
Yeah.
But you also need to be prepared to navigate the unexpected.
Okay, so you've got the right mindset. You've got those clear goals. What's the next ingredient for a disciplined life?
The material's pretty clear on this one. It's all about routines and habits.
Okay, so this is where things get really practical.
Yeah, this is where discipline becomes less abstract and starts showing up in your daily life.
Yeah.
Routines and habits provide that consistent structure that the notes talk so much about.
So where do we start?
Well, the material suggests starting with an honest assessment of how you're spending your time. Like, where is your time actually going?
Yeah.
Are there things that are stealing your time without you even realizing it?
It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
It really is. It can be super eye-opening to actually track your day.
Yeah.
You might be surprised how much time you're losing to little distractions.
Oh, yeah.
The key is to become aware of those distractions and consciously decide to use those little pockets of time better.
Okay, so a good example of this would be a morning routine.
Yeah.
So starting your day with some intentional actions.
Right.
Whether it's exercise, eating a good breakfast, or taking a few minutes to plan your day, it really can set the tone for your whole day.
It really can. And as those actions become habitual, they take so much less effort.
Totally. So it's really about taking control of your day.
Yes, it's about shaping your day rather than just reacting to it.
I like that.
And time management is a big part of this.
Right.
The material suggests scheduling specific blocks of time for different tasks to avoid that feeling of just being constantly busy but not really getting anything done.
Right. And they even talk about the Pomodoro technique.
Oh, yeah. Those little bursts of focused work.
Yeah, like 25 minutes of work followed by a short break. That sounds like a really practical way to stay focused and avoid getting burned out.
Yeah, those short breaks help you reset and come back to your work feeling refreshed.
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway here is to start small.
Absolutely.
Don't try to change everything at once.
Right.
Just focus on one new habit or routine and then build from there.
Small, consistent steps are the way to go.
Okay, so you are building these positive routines.
Yep.
But let's be real. We live in a world that is full of distractions.
It's true.
And the Knights do not shy away from this.
No, they don't.
They really address these temptations and distractions head on.
The digital age is a minefield of distraction.
It is.
We have social media. We have the internet. There's always something vying for our attention.
Yeah, it's like a constant battle for our attention.
And the material recognizes this. It says that managing those temptations is a big part of discipline in today's world.
So where do we start?
Well, as with many things, it starts with self-awareness. You need to figure out what your personal kryptonite is.
Yeah, what is that thing that always pulls you away from your work?
Is it your phone? Is it a noisy environment? Or is it just that urge to procrastinate?
Right.
Once you know what your biggest distractions are, you can start putting strategies in place.
Okay, like what?
Well, creating a distraction-free zone is huge. This might mean silencing your phone, putting it in another room, or even using some kind of website blocking app.
Right.
The point is to minimize those external triggers.
Yeah.
The notes also talk about setting specific times to check your email and social media. Instead of constantly reacting to every notification.
Right.
It's about taking back control of your attention.
So it's about making conscious choices.
Exactly.
About when to engage with those potential distractions.
Right, because if you don't, they will control you.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a really interesting point in the notes about self-control. They say that it's like a muscle.
Okay.
The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets.
I like that.
So even if you're struggling to resist temptations now, it should get easier over time with practice.
So you're saying it's not hopeless?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
And they recommend starting small. You know, maybe commit to 20 minutes of focused work without looking at your phone.
Okay.
And then gradually increase that amount of time.
So baby steps.
Exactly. Baby steps to building that mental resistance.
I like it.
And they mentioned the 5-second rule.
Oh, yeah.
As a way to interrupt those automatic impulses.
Right. It's like giving yourself a moment to make a conscious decision.
That's it.
Before you mindlessly reach for your phone or click on a notification.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about when we mess up?
Because let's face it, we all mess up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the material is very clear that we need to be kind to ourselves. You know, when we slip up, we need to acknowledge it without judgment and just gently redirect our focus back to our goals.
Self-compassion is so important.
It really is, because discipline is not about being perfect.
No.
It's about consistent forward momentum.
Right.
It's about acknowledging the lapse, learning from it if you can, and then getting back on track.
Okay, so you're working on your mindset, you've set your goals, you're building good routines, and you have some strategies for dealing with distractions.
Right.
What else can we do to boost our discipline?
Well, the notes are very big on the power of accountability.
Okay.
Accountability can be a huge motivator because it brings in external support and commitment. When other people know about your goals and are maybe even tracking your progress, it just makes you more likely to follow through.
It's like having a workout buddy.
It really is.
It's harder to skip a workout when you know someone's waiting for you at the gym.
Exactly. And the material suggests some simple ways to build accountability into your life.
Okay.
Like tracking your progress. Just keeping a simple journal or a planner where you log your daily tasks, accomplishments, even setbacks.
Right.
That visual record of your effort can be really motivating.
Oh, I could see that.
It lets you see how far you've come and identify patterns in your behavior.
Right.
That maybe even spot areas where you're consistently struggling.
Oh, okay. So what else can we do?
Well, they talk about telling people about your goals.
Okay.
Like your friends, family, mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Just having someone else in the loop can make you think twice about skipping that workout or procrastinating on that project.
Yeah, because you don't want to let them down.
Exactly. And that's the positive side of social connection.
Right.
It creates a sense of expectation and can give you some much needed encouragement.
Okay. And the notes also suggest finding communities or groups that are aligned with your goals.
Yes, surrounding yourself with people who are striving for similar things can be so powerful.
Right.
You realize you're not alone in this.
It's like having a whole team of workout buddies.
Exactly. And they also talk about celebrating your milestones,
Yeah.
even the small ones.
Right.
Acknowledging your progress is so important for reinforcing those positive behaviors.
Absolutely.
But the material also emphasizes that the real motivation should come from within. That internal satisfaction of knowing you're doing what you set out to do.
Yeah, that's the real fuel.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that accountability is not about punishment.
Right.
It's about support and recognition.
It's about setting yourself up for success.
That's it.
Okay, so you're doing all the right things. You're being accountable.
Yeah.
You're managing distractions. But what happens when we hit a roadblock?
Because we all will.
Yeah.
Well, the notes have a whole section on dealing with setbacks and building resilience.
Okay.
And the first thing they say is that setbacks are normal.
Yeah.
They're not a sign of failure. They're just part of the process.
Right.
They encourage us to see setbacks as opportunities to learn and grow.
So instead of getting discouraged, giving up,
Right.
you ask yourself what went wrong and what can I do differently next time?
Exactly. It's about turning those negative experiences into something positive. And this is where resilience is so important.
Okay.
Resilience is not just about bouncing back from difficulties.
Yeah.
It's about keeping your eyes on the prize even when things get tough.
Oh, okay.
And the material suggests using mindfulness when you hit a setback. Just taking a pause, taking a deep breath, and really looking at the situation before reacting impulsively.
It's about not letting your emotions control you.
That's it.
Right.
And the principle of persistence is also super important.
Yeah, okay.
It's about continuing to work towards your goals, even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, it's about showing up even on the tough days.
That's it.
And just like with those temptations,
Yeah.
we need to be kind to ourselves when we experience setbacks.
Absolutely beating yourself up.
Right. I think it's clear that it's a pretty complex thing.
It is.
It's about nurturing the right mindset, setting goals, building good routines, learning to manage distractions, being accountable, and developing resilience.
And what's really cool is how all of these elements work together.
Yeah.
It's not about finding one magic solution.
Yeah.
It's about taking a holistic approach to personal growth.
I like that. And I think it's important to remember that discipline is not a destination.
Right.
It's an ongoing practice.
Lifelong journey.
It takes patience and consistency.
Absolutely.
And a willingness to adapt as your goals change.
Because things change.
Right.
Life is dynamic. So our approach to discipline has to be dynamic too.
It's all about finding that balance between structure and flexibility.
That's it.
And never forget that discipline is about progress.
Not perfection.
Exactly.
So as you think about everything we talked about today and that specific goal you're working towards, think about just one small habit or strategy that you can implement today. And ask yourself, what difference could that one thing make in a month from now?
What could be different if you stuck with it?
Exactly.
I love
that. Food for thought.
Awesome.
All right, thanks for listening.
See ya.